Just don't let go. This is Radio Paranormal. This is Radio Paranormal. This is Radio Paranormal. Radio Paranormal.
Welcome to Radio Paranormal.
Hello.
Oh no, the poop fell off my hat.
Yeah, poop on your
Now
hat.
I have pink poop on my hat. You know why?
Why?
'Cause shit, I don't know. Gummies, who knows? Oh, I gotta get my. It looks like this stream is going to be brought to you by In the Middle, where finally we have figured out how to get. Well, I did. Jen's not in the middle anymore. Now she sort of is. So, but our guests are going to be the invisible couple on the other side, because it is what it is. Welcome to live TV, computer, whatever stuff. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Hell, I don't know. Somebody tell me. I'm actually really good, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Never met our guests. I've heard a lot about them. I've seen some of their work. They were on a podcast with my best friend KD. I watched a little bit of that, but I've never gotten I know what they do professionally, but I love our show because we get to actually know the people, or we try to. And they just seem like amazing souls. So I can't wait to interview.
Yeah. We did meet them. Chris and I did. They called to go on a ghost tour, and they wanted to bring some equipment with them. And I was like, sure.
There's ghosts in New Orleans? What?
Yeah, there's haunty places. And we ended up spending the whole weekend with them. They even came to my house with their paranormal. I'm gonna call it a paranormal doohickey, and then I'll let them correct me and fit all the technical stuff, because
that's how I know it as. That's what you call it, the paranormal doohickey. So.
I know one thing tonight, right now. I am not as smart by a long shot as the two people that we're gonna have on tonight.
Is that natural blonde, or how's that work?
No, this not. This is a natural redhead that nature started turning a very ashy shade of blonde. I said, F you, I disagree, and I chose the shade. So
why do everybody that I become friends with have to be soul-stealing gingers? I'm going to end up a freckle on your arm.
Just be kind.
Hello, Jay. What's up? And I'm glad Jay just jumped in. Paranormal Task Force X out of the Midwest. We've got some really cool events coming up. We got Pythian Castle coming up. I think Potosí's coming up soon. I'll haunt the town of Potosi. There's some tickets there for that. But the Pythian Castle at the end of May, come out, because I will actually be at that one. Not that anybody comes to see me, but me and my wife will be out there. It'll be my wife's first time out there.
I've just had some people on our hunts that have been to Pythian Castle. They said it was amazing.
Love Pythian. It'll be the second time I've been out there. So go to paranormaltaskforce.com or check us out on all the socials for tickets. Pythian's gonna be fun, y'all. Pythian's gonna be great, right, Jay? Jay, you gonna be out there at Pythian with us? Jay is also part of Paranormal Task Force X. So I had to pay my bills real quick.
And if you want to go on a ghost hunt in New Orleans and you can't make it to our Paracon, which we're going to talk about later with our guests, go to NewOrleansParanormalSociety.com. We have nightly public ghost hunts in the French Quarter, exclusive access to haunty locations, all skill levels welcome. If you've never done one, we'll teach you. If you've done one, we'll fill in the blanks. 3, 2, 1, have at it, go. We've got equipment for you, including some ITC devices from Supernatural Inc.
Who are those guys?
Those guys, I know.
Those guys are horrible. They don't know nothing.
No. I used my ink box last night in the closet at the Andrew Jackson, which is one of our locations for the Paracon. So,
hey, James Brady. Hey, look, I'm a princess, Kim Brady. I'm Kim Brady. They were just out at EnigmaCon. I heard that's a fun little con. So,
fun.
I can't wait to hear about that.
And
But
that's
you.
my dog.
Speak. Sit. Lay down. Rub my belly. Yeah.
Go.
Good boy.
My,
Oh,
my dog's feeling better now, so he's
oh
off.
good. I was going to ask. And
He's off work
speaking
release.
of ghost hunts and the Paracon,
Yeah.
let's
Hey, James.
you know
Brain.
what? Let's just go ahead and introduce our guests because I want them to have as much time as possible, and I want them to
It goes
come
so
in.
fast.
That is Radio Paranormal. So let's bring on Ron and Lourdes.
There they are.
Hi.
Hello.
Oh,
Did I
wow.
say-
You're right. On the mobile, there's just that blue brain thing in the middle.
No, we'll
Yeah,
take
yeah,
turns.
yeah,
We'll
yeah.
You have to
take
sit there and
Speak
sway
about-
like you're on a.
Yeah. It's sort of you know what? Let's just get that. I'm gonna take that down. That way we can just see us. I don't know what you guys see. Welcome to the show. Thank you guys so much. Like I was saying in the intro, I've never met you guys in person or on a podcast, so I'm pretty excited to get to pick the brain. But also, you guys are going to be at the New Orleans Paracon this year.
We're very excited. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We
The
are
very
too.
first one. Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun. The first one is going to be the best.
The first of many.
Yes.
Let's
I
hope
think so.
Chris is
Um,
scouting out locations for next year already. So
Yeah.
I've already heard a couple of exciting behind the scenes details for next
Yeah.
year, maybe. And oh my gosh, hey, they're gonna do it and they're gonna do it right. So what are you guys gonna teach down at the con? Because it's all about learning.
It is. I think part of what we try to teach is learning. We try to provoke thought with what it is we do in the field and what we do when we do talks, our lectures. Never pontificating, never we've got it figured out. Listen to us. If you're not on this page, you're wrong. That's never where we're coming from.
right.
But we try to provoke thought because we've had our apple cart positively upset and turned over and reframed how we look at a lot of this stuff now. So when we share what it is we think or where our beliefs in this stuff come from, in that we try to, I think repeatedly, make reference to the fact that this is meant to provoke thought because you may find yourself in complete agreement with it. You may partially agree with it. You may not agree with any of it. But in order to agree in totality or partially or to completely disagree with our position, you have to think. And you have to think that's what I also feel, or that's pretty much where I'm at, or I don't think that's true at all. And so if we make one of those three things happen, then we've done our job. Then we've made people think for themselves critically and then look at what it is that, you know, that make sense to them.
I think you add the science at such a different level to this paranormal world that so many outside of it think is supernatural phenomenon when it's not.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think it's fun. So I think we come from our background, technical idealism. That's a metaphysical position. And I'll explain the difference between that. What we bring that has a sciencey element to it is a respect for the science. Like we don't necessarily explain things or try to frame things using scientific frameworks, but we respect and acknowledge what it is science tells us. And I think that's where we found that the metaphysical position becomes important, because if one does not know metaphysically where they stand, then they will literally have like a lineal hypothesis or theory. They'll explain things invoking parts of different metaphysical backgrounds or beliefs. And then you've got a contradictory explanation for a phenomenon or an experience. So, which I'm sure probably happened for you, but that's where I think people end up contradicting themselves. So just to clarify, because I think, at least from what we've seen in the paranormal field, it seems like metaphysics or metaphysical gets, hey, Jeff, I think it gets conflated with sage and crystals and candles and what else? Like all those things that have a practical application. Metaphysics literally means that which stands behind the physics.
Right.
So the science that people try to employ is science tells us what nature and reality does, what to expect or not expect from it. It asks questions of nature, and then responses come in the form of outcomes. And then from there, we will spin our narratives and our myth making, and our beliefs will color where we perceptually run with that, with what the data says. But the data itself should be metaphysically neutral or agnostic. Science should be metaphysically neutral.
Right.
So that's the difference.
Yeah, we explain what we believe to be being with philosophy and make sure that philosophy doesn't conflict with the sciences.
Right.
We don't explain it with the sciences. We make sure that it doesn't conflict
Right.
with the science.
Metaphysical philosophy is an attempt to determine what the nature of reality or what reality beingness might be. Like, we're not going to know that. We're monkeys on a rock with higher cognitive function for 50,000 years. We're not going to figure out everything that has to do with everything in the cosmos. But we try to come up with something that makes the most sense. It starts with experience, because that's how we know everything. Right? And a foundation for, at least under idealism, the foundation is that reality is fundamentally mental or consciousness, subjectivity. And that also makes sense to us because that is the only thing that is pre-theoretical. Everything else anybody thinks about the paranormal or how science works or anything else is a hypothesis or a theory. The only thing that we don't theorize that is pre-theoretical is consciousness, because that is through which the way we know everything is the fact that we're conscious, and through our consciousness and our subjectivity is how we experience. So experience comes first. Mm-hmm. That's why that makes sense to us. But there's different metaphysical belief systems. And so one scientist can look at a result, and then if they're a physicalist or a materialist, and they're going to spin it or look at it through that lens. And if the person's like an idealist like us, then they're going to look at the same stuff through a different lens. So the data remains objectively neutral, right? But where we see it, that's what's spun by our metaphysical position. And if we don't know what it is, we'll either contradict or we'll have unexamined biases. When somebody says anything that we call paranormal is impossible, that is always, per force, always a determination that is made by the fact that it doesn't fit into an existing belief system.
Right.
Right. Okay.
So that's what we will be talking about when we're in New Orleans.
Right. Spirit communication, and then the metaphysics or metaphysical philosophy. Because it really does help you whittle down. That is one of the things that science offers to what we do, is it helps you take some of the ridiculousness, some of the things that's not coherent off the table. And then you could start looking at other things. But then if your other explanations contradict what science tells us, that's when we need to stop and go, well, hold on. This is perhaps flawed, because I'm invoking this element of science or this explanation, and now the next part. That's where I think we come up with ways to fill gaps and explanations in the paranormal, but we don't think of those things by extension, right? Mm-hmm. If I assume a certain thing to be true, then by extension there are other elements in other parts of either that theory or other things I say, where to be consistent, I also have to run with whatever that premise or that assumption was.
You have to accept it.
Right. It has to be an accepted part of the belief. But a lot of times we abandon those when it comes to explaining something else. And then we're all over the place. And that's where the people who are cynical or skeptical go, that's all a bunch of bullshit. It's not true. Because we contradict ourselves. We give ourselves the gun, we load it, and we point it at ourselves. And then they go, it's not true. And we finish the job. So it's just taking the extra.
You're right. You're 100% right.
Right. I'm falling out my chair here.
Well, don't fall out of it. I mean, that was I understand that was a lot. That was very scientific, but don't pass out, Jim. It'll be okay.
So I think that's the thing with us too, is that, and a lot of times it's what we talk about or what we explain gets categorized as being a very positive science-based kind of. But I guess the thing is that we don't preach science, we respect it.
Yeah.
We respect it. And then what we do put forward or preach is a metaphysical philosophy, right? And so when you have science telling us what nature and reality does, the doings of, the behaviors of, and what it won't do. The philosophy part of it tells us or speaks to what we think nature or reality is, the what's behaving that
Right.
science is measuring or calculating. So, and that's where, to have consistency, we need to be respectful of what the science says.
Right. So, you're also, so you're going to have a class twice a day. You guys are going to have your booth. People are going to be meet and greets. You've written some books too, right, Ron? I caught
Indeed.
you.
Let the guest have a sip of whiskey.
Listen,
or
you
whatever.
can take the girl out of the restaurant, but you can never take the waitress out of the girl. Like, we asked you how you doing right as you're taking that sip of your drink. It's what I do.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. I have 5 books that are on Amazon. And I'm pretty happy with them in as much as I think that they chronicle my journey in learning and experience in this field. Like, there are some things that I held as truths or things that I believed in from book 1 that may also still appear in 3, 4, 2, but there may be some things that I reworked or I revisited and I changed, and I think that's good. I've been exposed to more people, different educational and academic factors in the last year and a half or so. I've been part of an ambassadorship under Dr. Bernardo Castro, who holds 2 PhDs, computer science engineering, as well as philosophy. He worked at CERN. He created a company and sold it to Intel. So when I listen to him talk, I sit there going, like, did I even graduate? Like, what?
Right.
So I'm exposed to an element and an academic level that is higher than my pay grade. And then I do everything I can do to endeavor to be closer to that. So I hope that the journey through the books also shows that. Like, I have a certain framework of what I think here, and then some of it I may be consistent with, but some stuff may have changed. I may have learned different things. The philosophy stuff alone in the last couple of years has really, like I said, just turned our whole world upside down with how we interpret and look at a lot of this stuff. So, and I think it's important too, because I think, like I said before, that the field is invoking science now a lot for the purposes of credibility and value.
Yeah.
And it's not bad, but then we have to know when we do that, what we're saying, not just within that framework, but also by extension, and not contradict it. And there's a lot of things that are commonly explained, like stone tape theory, psychometry, even residual hauntings, where I've been pegged as a skeptic a few times because of this, because of the philosophy element is very new in the field, but I'm not. I believe those experiences happen. I mean, if somebody's lying and making something up, then that's on them. But giving somebody the value and credibility out of the gate, I don't deny the experience. But as present, the current explanations that float out there for stone tape, psychometry, and even residual fall apart before you get to the last part of it. They fall apart. There's an incoherency in that. So I put forth through this metaphysics a different explanation that doesn't deny the experience. Because I think when I've seen mediums perform what they call psychometry. I've seen also what people would attribute to stone tape, and I don't deny the experience, but I think that the explanations are where they run into the lean on science and then violate science at the same time kind of thing.
That was something I'll tell you. When we first met you guys, that was my beginning of my journey of figuring out what abilities I may or may not have. I didn't know. And going to mediumship classes, it was one of the most intimidating things I've ever done, because I was so embarrassed to be wrong. Right. And one of the things we did the first day I was there is everyone had brought an object. We had to hide it from each other. We gave it to the person doing the class, and he put it in paper bags. And we were only allowed to hold the bag. We were not allowed to feel it, scrunch it, nothing. And then we did meditation. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm never going to do this. I'm going to look like an idiot. I did it. I knew who it was from. I didn't know these people. This was a room full of people that I've just met.
Mm-hmm.
I knew who it was from. I knew a general shape and design of it that I drew. It was the craziest thing. I mean, I was my own worst skeptic because I thought for sure I am never going to be able to do this.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I could never tell you how I did it. I saw pictures and I felt something kind of turn me in a direction as to who it might be from.
Mm-hmm.
It was the craziest thing I've ever experienced.
That's phenomenal. And see, you knew in your heart, you believed. If you thought this stuff was a bunch of BS,
we cussed. You can cuss.
Right. You wouldn't have even thank you. You wouldn't have even entertained it. Right. So you knew there was something to it. You were curious enough. But, and this is what a lot of people do, we don't give ourselves intellectual permission per fear of how it's going to be perceived from the outside to actually buy into what we feel as something that's genuine. The intellect is the bouncer to the heart. You know something and you don't allow yourself to go with it. But then something like that happens and then you're like, wait a minute. Now you have to deny the experience, not just the belief in the possibility of the experience. And that's hard.
Yeah.
Right.
It was crazy. And I did it every time we did it. I was able to do it. It was, I don't know. It was so bizarre.
Because you have to trust in yourself and not ignore that feeling.
Yep.
That's the whole thing. And people are always afraid to be wrong, but there's nothing wrong with being wrong.
Yeah.
You just got to go for it.
Yeah, wrong doesn't matter. If you've never been wrong, you've also never been right.
Right.
You
For
have
sure.
to. You have to be wrong. We have actually a common explanation behind how we thought our digital seance stuff worked. And then I actually scrapped it and then revamped the explanation for it based on a conversation I had in one of these weekly meetings with Dr. Bernardo Castro. And it wasn't even about that, but it was something that was tangentially close enough, related enough that I kind of connected the dots. And I was like, wait a minute, the way we think we've explained this doesn't make sense. And other people who have heard us explain it that way still use that explanation. And I'm like, no, it doesn't make sense. So I revisited it and I came up with a different explanation that, again, I don't know for sure because we're dealing with elements that we don't have access to, right? But I was happy actually to find out that I was wrong because that was a growth moment. So maybe I'm less wrong now. Maybe I still haven't figured, and that's really our job in this field, right? Our role in this field in trying to put a pin down on what reality might be, what nature might be, and all this stuff. Our job is really to try to be less wrong the longer we do it, not to have the answers and figure it out, because I don't know that happens, but to be less wrong. Just on a side note, because it came up and I don't want it to go too far afield without addressing it. We did meet Chris and Jennifer when we were down in New Orleans a few years ago. We went down and we reached out to them just to see if there was a local team that maybe had some stuff going on that we could do. And why what I'm about to say is important is because these are the same two people who are hosting an entire Paracon that they're inviting people from all over to come to. And so what I'm telling you is that they're fantastic hosts. And they treated people like us that they didn't know. They brought us, like she said, they brought us to their home. We went out to eat with them. They took us out to eat. We spent time investigating. They brought us to a few different locations. So I think that's important because if they treated people poorly or like, who cares, just give me your money. And then they're running an event. Maybe, I don't know if you want to consider that, but they were gracious hosts and they really took care of us nicely when we were there and made the experience for us being in a place we were excited to be that we had never been. Really cool.
Yeah, the barrier to entry here is high. And, when Chris finally bought into maybe the idea of a Paracon, who were the first two people he called?
Yeah.
No, we appreciate it.
Yeah,
I mean, we've never run one. We participated in a bunch. And you guys have, to us, there are certain things that come with Paracons. Like certain Paracons people will perceive like Pennhurst, Gettysburg, because there's lore and mythology and stories and everything and tales that go with the region or the land or the city itself. And if you had to peg a top 5 in the U.S., if somebody left New Orleans off that list, I would tell that the list was probably garbage. You guys have to be atop that list. Like Gettysburg, New Orleans are right there. Like that's one of the places that if you did something like this, I would think it would be an ideal spot. So, and
we've got some unique spirit stuff here just because of the nature of the people that have we're here, then we're settled upon, then we're brought here. It's going to be for especially for people that have investigated, there are going to be energies you have never run into before, period. You haven't. So, and that voodoo house that you guys are going to be at as one of our ghost hunts, if you want to go on a ghost hunt with Ron and Lourdes during the New Orleans Paracon, July 31st to August 2nd, you are going to want to add on
Yeah, you will.
house ghost hunt, because that is where they're going to be. And we have a couple of new spirits. And it's human, but he's not light. He is a dark man. He was a bad human.
Bad.
He was bad. And there's actually a couple in human spirits there. They don't talk, they look. But I'm curious now with you guys, and I want you to explain your digital seance experience, how they're going to react to it again.
That's something that we're looking forward to. Do you want me to do the explanation, or do you want to start it out with because
you can do it. I'm just thinking about what she was saying about the energy of New Orleans and the culture. That's what fascinates me, because there's really nothing like it. Like the only time I've ever felt that was in the Caribbean, from where my family's from. But
that makes total sense, though.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense with the voodoo. And we're actually having Voodoo Authentica for the VIP party. If you buy the Platinum or VIP experience, or you're a vendor or a speaker, then you get to go to that party, and Voodoo Authentica is going to do a voodoo ceremony to open our Paracon for everyone. So even if this is not, we're not asking people to practice voodoo. We're asking people to observe the reality of voodoo, because it is not a dark space. It's not a dark spiritual practice. It's been bastardized by Hollywood. If you've watched any of our episodes, go back and watch the one with Papa Czar. He will explain that voodoo does not name negative anything. They don't talk about it. They don't acknowledge it. Nothing. So how can you have and say a practice is dark when they don't even? It's not what they do.
Exactly. It's like with spiritismo, hoodoo, voodoo. There's good and bad in everything. That's the bottom line.
It's what you do with it that makes it good or bad.
That's it. So you have the ones that are doing it the way they're supposed to, and then you're going to have the people that notice that this works and then turn it around and let it be something else. And it's in all of them, not just one, in all of them.
Yep. So, absolutely.
I try to explain it like, okay, so I'm a nerd. I'm a geek. Star Trek, Star Wars, whole 9 yards. So I use the Force, right? Okay, so as soon as Palpatine brought Anakin over, so now there's two negatives on the negative side. Well, what does the Force do? Well, now there's two identical twins born on the good side, Leia and Luke. So no matter what happens on one side, it's gonna equal out. The world wants equilibrium. Now, how it gets there, I don't know, but
you touched on a few different things in that statement that are all collectively brilliant. I hope you realize that on some level. First of all, I would highly recommend two different people to you. One is Dr. Jeffrey Kreipel, who I also had the chance to talk to in the meetings with Dr. Kastrup. One of his books, I think it's Mutants and Mystics, or Mystics and Mutants. It's over. I can't read the title from here. Mutants and Mystics, I think. He talks about a lot of the things that we have culturally, like the superheroes and superpowers and all those kinds of things. People don't buy into and believe those things because they were influenced by Hollywood and movies putting them out there and making them seem real.
Right.
They were written into movies and conceptualized as part of stories and myths that we see in films and TV shows, because people had certain experiences or things that led to those, or they were culturally rooted in a belief system that comes before that. So Hollywood didn't indoctrinate us into thinking that some of this, crap stuff was real. A lot of it comes from actual either experiences or with things such like that. So the idea of the Force is that there's this field around us that binds us, right? And we're all part of it and kind of thing. So analytic idealism, which is what Dr. Castor puts forth, which is what we study. We use technical idealism as something to bridge the gap between the technological spirit communication ITC we do and the metaphysical philosophy idealism. But analytic idealism posits that reality is fundamentally mental, or consciousness is the substrate. So that's the thing by which you can explain everything, but the thing itself that can't be reduced to anything else. If something exists outside of consciousness, it might as well not exist because we don't have access to it. That's how we know everything, right? Through experience, through being conscious. So it's very much in league with the whole idea of the force, the mental or psi abilities to be able to move things or thoughts. A lot of that, again, telepathy, telekinesis, a lot of that comes in an accepted framework if you're talking about a reality that's idealist, that's fundamentally consciousness. Here's where the importance comes on the metaphysical position. The worldview that's dominant now, and it's been since I guess Enlightenment, is what's called physicalism, or people may know it more as materialism, which says that there's one fundamental thing to reality, which is physical stuff, matter, atoms, molecules, right? And then from that comes everything else. Like, so this physical squishy brain in your head gives emergence to consciousness, right?
Yep.
So so physical is what's real, and mental stuff is either a hallucination or an interpretation of something out there, but it's not out there. Like, there's no qualities out there. Everything that's qualitative or qualia, the taste of chocolate, the smell of a strawberry, those things are all in your head.
Right.
Everything out there is exhaustively explained in numbers. That's physicalism. That's the most common worldview. And a lot of times when I mentioned how people will contradict themselves in explanations in the paranormal, that's how they do it, because they go with something that's not materialistic to start explaining something. And then they'll sometimes plug holes with mysticism or spiritualism or something else. And then it dovetails into something that is fundamentally materialist, which is the same belief system that doesn't allow for any of this stuff to happen. You can't read things like what Jennifer did with picking out what's in the bag and nailing it down and who it's from. That's not possible under that framework, under that metaphysics.
Right.
So we look at it as, if that experience happened, if she did that, and we believe that she did, she knows she did, then you start with experience. The theory should fit the facts, not the other way around.
Right.
So if we came from a materialist perspective, we wouldn't believe her. We'd have to say, well, that's crap. That's not possible. You can't do that. Or it was a lucky guess, or it was coincidence, or it's anecdotal, or it's subjective. Everything we experience is subjective. We can't collectively experience my hunger.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
we can't collectively experience what I think is beautiful.
And what I try to tell a lot of people, there is nothing external in this world. Everything happens on the inside. So I go touch a tree. I'm not feeling the tree. I'm feeling the electrical senses that are pulsing underneath my skin into my body. So everything that is reality is internal.
The experience is, yeah. So under idealism, we don't deny that there's a world out there, but we think that world is fundamentally mental also, right? Okay. So there is a world out there, and you are interacting with what's out there, but what you see, touch, smell, taste, etc., is a representation of what's out there. It's not the thing in and of itself. But we've been inculcated to think, again, under a materialist idea, that everything we see and experience is the world out there in its totality, exactly the way it is.
Right.
Which for us feels a little naive, but it also denies experience in a lot of instances. So you're interacting with an outside world, but what it is it's representation of it. Somehow along the way, and we get taught this in school, we have substituted the map and we put it before the territory.
Right.
The map is referential. It points to the territory. That's what gives it value. It's a representation of something. But we say that this world is made up of pounds, feet, yards, kilograms, right? So we're putting. It's like trying to take the state of New Orleans out of the map. You can't know. It's the territory comes first, and the description or what we perceive of it comes second.
And I think a lot of perception, especially with people that are just hobbyists or whatever in this field, they don't understand. Oh, you must be open-minded in this field to figure out anything. If you're not, you go crazy. Like, for instance, you say that, I breathe in oxygen, it goes into my lungs, and, I'm breathing through my lungs. Well, what if I say, no, I'm breathing through my blood? Actually, the oxygen goes into my lungs and then in the blood, and that's how I breathe. Both are correct, but they're different versions of the exact same thing. And one is, somebody that doesn't look into it, they're less likely to believe if I say, no, I don't breathe through my lungs. That's merely a filter. I breathe through my blood.
Right. Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, what we look for under idealism is explanatory power, internal consistency, and coherence, right? So, because it's not, and this is another trap that we fall into in this field, it's not a binary explanation thing where if it's true, you can prove it, and if you can't prove it, then it's not true. Or if you can't disprove it, then it is true. That's not how it works. It doesn't work in a binary way like that, because we can't. I could give you a story that is completely internally consistent. It's coherent because there are things out there that I'm connecting it to that make sense. Like, I could say that the stuff that happens in the cosmos has nothing to do with gravitational lensing, gravity, dark matter, like none of that stuff. All it is that there's this big interdimensional being that's a big flying spaghetti monster. We can't see him, and he just moves things around with his noodly appendages, and that's how everything happens.
Right.
I can't prove it's true. You can't prove that it's not. So when we explain or lean into something, what we look at under idealism is, do we have any reason to believe it? And are we inventing theoretical steps for the purposes of fleshing out an explanation? Or are these things either veridical or empirically adequate that we can support it with something, right? Because you can look at the same data, you can find footsteps outside of your house and go, all right, so somebody tried to break in. They were looking in the window. They saw an alarm system. They saw that the light was on in the back of the house. They thought maybe someone was here, and then they left.
Right.
Those same two footsteps, you could go, what happened was a ship came down from the Pleiades. They landed in my neighbor's yard. They broke into his shed. They took a gardening hoe and his Crocs. They came over to my front door and then realized, we'd like some Cool Whip, but they don't have any. And then they left, and now there's a gardening hoe floating around the rings of Saturn because they threw it out on the way back into space. That whole story. And you know what? Nobody watching this show can prove that that's not true.
Exactly.
Oh, you didn't have some Ready Whip in your fridge.
Right. But is there any reason to believe it? That's where we come from when we try to support what it is we think. There's no reason to support it. You can't prove it's true or not true. It is almost immaterial. Is there any reason to believe it? Is it grounded in anything whatsoever? And that's what we look at.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't prove personally that there is a frozen hiker up on Mount Everest with a red jacket on that's actually a mile marker. I can't prove it. I've never seen it, but I know hikers that have been up there, and I have seen pictures that lead me to believe that it is true. Right.
So
I get it.
It's veridically grounded in something, right? When you have an experience visually, like if Jennifer has a mediumistic experience and she sees something that's present but nobody else sees it, right? Then you have to take her word for it. So this is where credibility and having integrity and stuff comes in, because for us, we respect her. She says something, we believe her. Somebody doesn't know her, they might be like, no. Right? But if something detectable, measurable, observable, or something else, or verified by someone else, like the hiker thing, that's a veridical connection. Now, that is something that is rooted in the transpersonal space that we share, that other people can speak to besides the person who's giving you the explanation for it. And that's where we find comfort a lot of times, when we think something is a consensus.
Okay, this will lead me to an off-the-wall question, but it'll get us over to the ghost hunts at the Paracon. So, Ron, we'll start with you. What is your favorite piece of equipment?
We're going to have the same answer for it. And since I talked a lot, I'll let her go longer. I'm an ITC buff. I love the idea of the real time. When I got involved, the brilliant people like your buddy Katie Stafford and his wife, Katie, the Holtes, Austin Maynard, Jay Prather, these are the people who were, and they still are, leading the charge, because you had to be building stuff to do it. direct radio voice we brought back in 2019. No sweeping, just broadband white noise, vacant, no radio emissions. That evolved into our digital seance, and that's my favorite thing, just because through an inability to, like, I'm not a builder, welder, kind of like, that's not my soldering.
Right.
I would have fewer fingers if I was doing that, so I don't.
Fair.
So that's why that's my favorite. I like what we do because there's a purity to it, and it was a labor of love. We worked on it since 2019, and now there are versions of it floating out there, and it's analogous to the 70s or 80s. You wanted to see a band called Queen, you went and see Queen. Today, you can go to a bar in almost every major city, and there's a cover band doing songs just like Queen.
Right.
So when we look at that as an analogy, we're not the cover band.
Yeah.
Right.
But we knew we would have an influence with what we were doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, my favorite would be, well, because of what we do, but it really lies first from EVP work, right? Capturing that EVP in a recorder. And then from the spirit boxes, because I would hear it and you would hear voices in real time. So that's why what we do is my favorite, because there's no radio involved, right? So the spirit boxes fascinated me, but now we do something that is also a method, but without the radio. So that fascinates me. And it's, to me, the closest thing to a regular EVP. Like, that's just the closest thing to it, which I'm fascinated by EVPs.
Yeah.
Pure and simple, number one, EVPs are like the best. So what we do is, to me, the purest form of that comes closest to an EVP. So that's why I love it.
And you're the direct radio voice that we saw, because we haven't seen. Oh, hang on. There's
Mom. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Oh.
All right. Mom, I was actually going to ask where Mom was, because you're behind, Mom, but
she's a little late. It's okay. No, and it was fascinating because we had never seen anything like it. We were new. I'll tell you that, some of the stuff we look at back at our older ghost hunts, and we did this, and we look at the video from it, we're like, oh my God, we thought that was evidence. Oh, you bay, because you do learn. You do learn. And if you're not learning, you're behind, you're way behind. You have to learn. And that was what, can I play the clip real quick?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Please and thank you.
The Voodoo House was just, it was insane, because there's a background to that you guys did not know.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the audio with Chris's still.
That's why the stuff I'm wearing is all been blessed. And so
What'd you hear?
there are no protection. Jesus Christ says something different.
That's right.
So let me look at a timestamp.
Yeah, so you can see it better.
That's why the stuff I'm wearing is all been blessed. And so there are no protection. So let me look at a timestamp.
So that's just part of it. I guess I got the shorter version, because there's more to that, where you said on the longer version that one of your memory cards was full.
Yeah, I can see if I can find it.
And it says, "Oh, great! Check your equipment."
Yeah.
Oh wow!
So it was just interesting, because it's just white noise. What you're hearing is, and they'll explain it, filtered white noise. It blew my mind. They came to my house. I heard my grandmother's voice.
Yeah.
And it runs quieter now.
Yep.
And see, I'm super excited about that, because that's the first time I've heard y'all's direct link, or what? No, that's Jay Prather's thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I get it all mixed up.
We love Jay Prather.
Yeah.
I love Jay. He's a fellow Marine, so Semper Fi, Jay, if you're watching. But that's the first time I've heard your device. That was clean. I'm
That was
very
2019, dude.
I'm very
That-
curious.
It runs cleaner now. It
Okay,
runs
so-
cleaner now.
Yeah.
Listen, yeah, that's pretty cool. I like it. Because see,
That
I
was
used to our
2019?
inboxes and stuff.
No.
That was when you guys came here. So
2023.
when was that? 2021.
Okay. 21 sounds better, right? No, 23?
No, we went down in May of 2023.
Okay, so it was 3 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I know
Yeah.
it forever.
I know. It does feel like it's longer.
It was
I
like
know it
in
happened.
2019 because we were doing our ghost hunts. We didn't start till 2021. Full
Okay.
time.
Yeah, we brought back direct radio voice when nobody else was doing anything except ghost box stuff, and we did that in 2019. So we
Yeah.
couldn't have been down there with it. We didn't come down.
So when I first dabbled in paranormal investigating when I was a young man, very young. So we used to have we only had 3 channels back then, and we had the old tube TVs where you flip the dial.
Yeah.
Well, the early days you would flip in between channels and pop up the white noise, and you
Yeah.
would use it almost like scrying back in the day. And
Yep.
I haven't thought of white noise, just pure white noise like that in forever. So that you're bringing back some old school tech in my mind. I like that.
100% they are. Yeah.
Oh, here it is.
Okay. I think he found it.
I found it. Let me cue it up and then I'll screen share. Hold on.
Sure.
With sound. Yeah, and this good. There's the volume. Yeah, Lourdes nailed it. And I was thinking it, and I knew she knew I was thinking it, was that was a few years back. So we worked at trying to really make it quieter than that, cleaner. So, and there's no data in the white noise. So we don't deny the viability of ghost boxes. We've used several from different builders, including Jay, and we've heard things that have timing and relevance, which is how we vet something being legitimately anomalous or not. And they work. We don't deny that they work, and we think they work in principle the same way this does.
Mhm.
But because it's not sweeping, it doesn't get interrupted. And what we try to do is remove any cynical low-hanging fruit from the explanation. So I don't think if you're using a direct link or an ink box and then Jennifer goes, "What's my name?" and it says Jen Talley, I don't think that that's always necessarily. You can say it's pareidolia. I think that's naive. You can't say it's a radio DJ if it's clear enough. I'm talking about something that's discernible, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Not mumbo jumbo stuff. So I don't deny that it works, but for the people who don't even look at the possibility of this being a thing, they grasp at anything. And the go-to is typically you're using a radio.
Yeah.
The anomaly you seek is voices. Radios have voices, kind of like going to the beach and dropping a bunch of coins and metal things and then coming back an hour later with a metal detector going, "Look what I found." You put it there. But that's not necessarily the case, again, with timing and relevance. So when we got the radio out of the equation, that was a big thing for us to vet the process that now, because there's no data in the white noise, right? There's no data. So,
Right.
and then it also weakens the pareidolia argument too, because when we hear other people speak, we're hearing sounds collected to form what sounds to us like words. And then we understand those words in a language that we're familiar with. So what makes that there's a voice coming through this system less plausible, less believable than a voice coming from another person that, let's say, that I can't see? What makes one more plausible than the other?
Right.
The belief system.
Right.
The belief system. If something is deemed impossible, it's deemed impossible because there's an ideology that says it's not possible and it doesn't fit into that. And that, again, that's the materialist box. This stuff isn't possible. That's why you've heard, and everybody knows that statement, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof or evidence. It's called the Sagan standard. That's only true if by being termed extraordinary is because it doesn't fit into a pre-existing ideology or belief system. Otherwise, it does not. If it's nature doing what it doesn't need extraordinary proof or some grandiose explanation. What it needs is, and I'll go back to it, explanatory power, internal consistency, and coherence. That's what it needs. And if it has those things, then you're identifying sounds and language the same way you do when you hear a person that you can't see talk, right? Could that be misinterpreted? Could there be a level of thinking something's a word and it's not? Sure, it's possible. But the more elaborate and the more complex it is, and the more timed and relevant it is, the harder it is to say that, right? And then you point out brilliantly too your explanation about when they try to dismiss stuff because you heard the wrong word.
Right, because if you say Brandon Tripp and I heard the word rip, does that mean you didn't say a word? Of course you did. Right. I misheard it, but you said you spoke.
Yep.
So
well, and I think ultimately the truth is in the extrapolation of the data.
Yeah.
Like that's the easiest point of manipulation in my opinion, that people can say, well, I'm looking at this data and blah blah blah.
So that's interesting because again, you nailed something so brilliantly, and allow me, if I can, to point it out. Yeah. The truth is in the interpretation, right? Yep. Spot on. Because one of the things that we see to be a red herring is this objective consensus truth, right? And things get dismissed on being subjective or anecdotal. Well, if it's anecdotal and compelling enough, you got to look at it. Right. Secondly, subjectivity is the one way we know everything that way. Even if you look at something through instrumentation, you're still using your subjectivity. You don't have a shared. You can have individual subjectivities that align with a transpersonal experience that we all have. Right? If you were in our house, you would see it the same way and describe it the same way. So there's a world out there and we can experience the same thing, but it doesn't mean that if somebody has a different interpretation, like if somebody has like color, they're colorblind, let's say, like that there wouldn't be differences in the perception based on individuality, that still stands. Right. Right. So the truth in the perception is huge because what you perceive is your truth, and things are attempted to be dismissed all the time. They go, oh, well, you didn't, Jen goes, I saw a spirit walking through the room. They go, well, no, you didn't. She goes, no, I saw it. And they go, well, it's just a hallucination or a delusion. Right. But the experience of a hallucination is still an experience, and what you experience is your reality.
And the biggest thing is, it's like, I know, you can say, well, no, that didn't exist, or okay, perfect example. Well, how true is it? Well, it's only as true as you are willing to do the background research on. Yeah. If you just want to take it at face value, then no, it's probably not very true to you. But nothing's going to be true unless you decide to,
right.
Right.
And see the importance of the metaphysical position that I kept stressing before, because in order for everybody to agree on something being true, you have to have the same belief system and foundation for how it is you are putting through the lens of what you're taking, what's possible to be true. Right.
Yep.
That's part of it. What we see is true, even with data, even with experience and perception. It's all, if you believe something is possible, then it's true. But if somebody believes it's not possible to communicate with spirits or mind to mind or any of that stuff is not possible, then it's never going to be true, because their belief system doesn't allow for that to even happen. Mm-hmm. And so then it gets discarded. And you know what? It's very easy to have a handle on everything on the table, to have an understanding of everything tabled for discussion, if you remove from the table that which you don't understand.
Right.
Exactly. And let's tell everybody where they can come see you guys, because I'll tell you what else is unbelievable. The first annual New Orleans Paracon in the French Quarter. Jim, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah.
So, guys, we are doing the first annual paranormal New Orleans Paracon French Quarter, July 31st through August 2nd at the Astor Crown Plaza in the French Quarter.
That's the old one.
Yeah, it's because I didn't give you a new one. Put that one up. It doesn't matter, because so what? We're sold out of a package. Good thing. Good problem to have.
That's because people wouldn't listen to me when I said literally this package is $300. And
RIP is gone, folks. Bye.
Deuces.
It is. So we're going to have workshops and classes. This is educational focused, although you do have the vendor area where you can meet and greet and take pictures with your favorite pair of celebs. You're not going to be a presenter here if you don't have something to teach. That's just how this one's going to work, because we see such a need for education. But if you go, I put the link in the comments, NewOrleansParacon.com. We have a platinum package that includes everything, a VIP package that includes 2 paid classes per person per day, your room, all the packages except for the weekend and day passes include your room. So look at those prices, folks. That is your room for 3 days and 2 nights at the Astor Crown Plaza. A lot of times you go to these Paracons and you got to find your own place to stay. And if you don't know where you're going to be, if you're not familiar with the area, you could end up driving 15 plus minutes or be in a not great part of town. You know, this you don't have to worry about. You can add on our ghost hunt.
It's like an all-inclusive vacation, except not all-inclusive.
Yeah, you pay for it.
Right, yeah.
You've got food all over the place. You can walk downstairs to Bourbon House. You can walk outside. If you know Crystal Burgers or White Castle Burgers, ours is Crystal Burgers, but it's called Crystal Tavern because only in New Orleans will Crystal Burgers add daiquiris. I'm just saying, it's the only place.
Of course.
But we're gonna have lots of really fun things to do. Please, thanks, Emil. Book your tickets. They're gonna sell fast. We're halfway sold with the Patty Negri experience, which is an add-on to all the packages. So
I told y'all last week that was going to happen because I told you I was going to buy my wife one, and I bought my wife one. So y'all better get on it.
There's only 5 left. We've sold over half of the platinum and VIPs, so there aren't many of those left. And the Living Dead, which is our newest package, we've sold a handful of those too. And then we've got weekend and day passes we've sold. You know, so once this rolls out to locals, these are all going to be gone, you know.
Also,
and then
some of the add-ons.
Come see Ron and Lourdes.
There you go. You got it.
Come see them. Take their class.
They're going to be doing a ghost hunt too. So if you guys want to go hunt with Ron and Lourdes, there's the opportunity. Like I get stuck with the worst one. So if you guys want to be out there in the graveyard in the heat, in a Masonic, I'll be in the Masonic graveyard, and I am a Master Mason, and I will be bringing trigger items from my Masonic Lodge. I've never done this before, so we're going to have fun, but it will be hot. And
we'll have fans up by Ron and Lourdes. But here's the great thing. The hunt that you guys are doing at the Voodoo House is limited to 16 participants. When we say intimate, where you can really get some hands-on experience, talk to the two of you as you're doing your digital seance experience there, learn about it. That's where you're not going to be in this big group all over each other, right?
Yeah. This thing is so well organized, and the fact that it's educationally driven and beyond what we do, just like everybody that you got in the panels you have, that was a big reason why we got more and more excited as we saw this thing develop into what you guys are doing with it and why we believe in it and think it'll succeed. And so to not forget, because Lourdes just reminded me, I have the fuller length clip from when we were there, but if we have the time to do it, and we're totally cool if you guys can do it. After that, I can show one other clip that gives a little explanation about what we do, because what I want to show that clip in its entirety. But since the system has gotten so much quieter and cleaner, I'd like to show an example of this other clip when we were on a local news thing twice now, doing it at locations up in the Northeast, because when people see that they can come investigate with us or see with us, like hanging out with 2 chuckleheads from New Jersey isn't the most appealing pitch ever, but this might make it more appealing if they see exactly how the method works. And you know, I already think that we're almost at an overselling point at this point, right? Because if you're not hooked by going to New Orleans and to a Paracon with all the things that are offered at the rates and the all-inclusive almost packaging that you do it, I don't know what else it's going to take.
I mean, in the Voodoo House, I mean, you got to experience the energy. I mean, just the culture in the paranormal field, the culture in itself, just in the regular, what we consider normal, it's just amazing. You really pack up your bags, vacation, let's go.
It's
and I will throw this out there because, I don't give a shit and I just say what's on my mind. You can have as much or as little paranormal drama at a Paracon as you personally want.
Yeah.
It's not going to come find you. It's not going to, if you don't start it, it will not start.
Yeah.
And so I've heard a lot about, Paracons are nothing but drama. Well, I mean, if you create it, everything is intent.
Yeah.
This Paracon is about learning. We want to teach the newer generations how to do this correctly from the mistakes that we have made. This is not a safe hobby. So
No.
we
have
put that.
No, we have time. We have a few minutes for Ron to show those clips, right?
Yeah, we got time.
People, you gotta be there. The clips I know are going to be awesome, but you've got to be there. You've got to see this for yourself firsthand.
So this is the one from when we were there in 2023, and this is the one that you wanted to show before in its full length.
Yeah.
But then the next one is really you'll see the difference in how it sounds compared to then. We worked on trying to diminish the noise floor as much as possible so that the voices would actually be easier to discern coming out of the really non-detectable white noise. So let me hide this. All right. So if there's no sound, let me know. Otherwise, here is the Silent Man one from 2023 with the New Orleans Paranormal Society taking us on tour.
I care about energy that has the ability to influence your dream state, that has the ability to
I heard Simon. I'm just saying, I heard Simon. I'm sorry.
That's why this stuff I'm wearing is all big. So there's no protection. Jesus Christ says something different. So
yeah, so you can so yeah,
That one's at 37 minutes. Oh, this one stopped recording because of the card's full. I have to empty the card in the bar.
So we've already been in one house in which an incubus attacked a woman.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, great. Check your equipment. You got
Dude, check your equipment.
I got otherworldly reprimanded.
Oh, great.
Oh, great.
Check
I
your
know,
equipment.
you dumbass. And indeed, I was at that time. The dumbass
I love
I
it.
thought I was.
Do we have another
So-
clip that we're going to show?
Yeah, this one's a couple, like 3 minutes maybe, but it's got a little explanation. It's a condensed version of the last time we did this Haunted Tri-State series in New Jersey and New York and Connecticut, whatever, that aired. It did really well on their YouTube channel, much to our surprise and delight. But this, so it has the reporter does a little intro about what this method is and kind of how it works. And then we're in a location in Long Island, New York that we'd never been to before. And apparently some things aligned with what they had known prior to us coming in from other mediums and such, right? Going in there. So let me get this one queued up. And we're good to go. Okay, yeah. It's there. All right. Here it is.
Okay.
The digital seance experience scans white noise, a combination of signals similar to the hiss of an untuned radio or television. The software filters through these frequencies and picks up any voices, allowing them to communicate with the spirit world in real time.
There's no word banks, there's no sound banks, there's no signal radio or otherwise.
It's just the white noise. We're making more of what comes through audible.
Ron and Lourdes, they're coming into this cold. They don't know about the history. They haven't heard, these stories. And they're setting up in one of the most active places in this bakery, the kitchen. Our Haunted Tri-State production team is here. The cameras are up and they're ready to record every moment. So let's start the night. One of the first things we hear is...
In the basement?
Is there a basement here?
No.
Okay, that got weird quickly. And then just 5 minutes after we started, we hear two names.
How many people are here tonight? Virginia.
I
heard
Eddie.
Eddie. You heard it?
Eddie, what's up?
Wait, let's play that back. Okay, is this the Eddie that we've been hearing a lot about? Is he trying to communicate to us and letting us know that he's here tonight?
Eddie, were you here when this was not a bakery?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it looks like Eddie is coming through, but there was another name mentioned.
Virginia.
So that's interesting to us. One of the first names that we heard on Ron's software was Virginia. Gerard has never heard that name mentioned before, but could that have something to do with one of our producers named Virginia?
Virginia.
I definitely heard my name. And I kind of pointed to myself, wondering, did anybody else hear it? And then we played it back. And then we all heard it. And that was so disturbing.
Could there be a spirit looking to connect with Virginia? But a name that they have heard before comes up right away, and that's Eddie. He seems to be dominating the paranormal's conversation.
Eddie.
I heard Eddie.
Eddie.
You heard it?
Eddie, what's up?
Being a trickster?
Eddie, you're the guy who plays pranks around here, right?
That's me.
That's me.
Eddie, we don't know who you are. We're new here. Why are you here, Eddie?
As you can see, there has been contact made with Eddie, who Gerard believes was killed when he was a teenager near the bakery. We are also hearing other voices, including a female. Could that be Gracie or Charlotte, the girls from the Civil War era?
Can you guys let Gracie say hello, please?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Where is she? Can she say hello?
That sounded like a female.
Excuse me, I heard.
While that is happening, Gerard shows us a photo on his phone that was captured in the alley attached to the bakery. He believes the shadowy figures look like two little girls. And then before we know it, we get confirmation.
Can Grace say her name? Please let Gracie say her name.
Gracie!
There it is.
Hey!
Thank you. Thank you.
Never gets old, man. Never gets old.
So we're now in the alleyway, and this is where they've gotten a lot of, activity and people feel things. So now we're going to listen.
Somebody say Eddie loudly if you can hear us. Immediately.
Wow, what a difference.
That's crazy.
Wow.
It's quieter, right? You can tell that difference.
Everyone's a lot quieter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the response
And thank you to Chris.
a lot more clear.
Yeah, but that's because that background noise, he has lessened that. You don't hear that as much.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
voices come out clearer.
Actually, if you want, I could show you one more that's pretty short from the My Haunted Manor in Columbia, Pennsylvania that we did.
Yeah, because I'm curious into this method. Like this is
This is really clear.
I mean, I could show a couple if you want. They're not. None of them are. That was the longest one I have, and I won't show anything that long again. But just to give you an idea, like it's pretty wild. All right, so it's still shared in the other one. Okay, good. All right, so this one goes right into it. So it's okay, good. So this was the end of their season 1, and then we ended up being on 3 different episodes from this one instance because we got stuff that I guess matched what they were told by other people, including mediums, I think, in this location. So you'll hear what's interesting in this one also is that I ask a question, Lourdes asks a question, gets an answer, and then I did. And I gave a multiple choice, 2 different things question. and it answered with one of the options, but it used a different word for one of those options, which to me showed contextual understanding and understanding overall of what I was asking, because they gave a different word. Except if somebody said automobile instead of car, it would still be contextually correct as an answer if the answer was car. So they did something like that. So I'll play that.
They started digging. What would they find?
Person. Yeah.
Is it a male or a female person? Male or female? Woman.
Woman.
And if you guys want to see any more, you're gonna have to buy tickets.
Yes.
All right. That sounds good to me.
Because it's too cool. And I agree here, no bloody way. Right?
Yeah.
So
that's just white noise where there's no data, no radio involved, no word banks, just white noise being slowed down and filtered in real time.
Yep.
And so where can people find you guys, keep up with you guys, buy your stuff other than Amazon? I know you can get it on Amazon, but Amazon doesn't pay their people worth a shit. They don't pay their authors. So what I say is go directly to the source and buy it directly from the person if you are able. So I give you the floor.
No, that's very kind of you, and very much appreciated. So at the moment, the easiest way, I mean, we don't sell the method right now. I mean, we have helped a few people. A gentleman named Keith Clark, who introduced us to the software initially. He gets people set up on their computers if they want to start playing around with it. And then I can offer a few suggestions, but a lot of times I get roped into a consulting thing because Keith gives them the framework. But what he gave us, Keith Clark from paranormal.com, I worked on for 3 or so years, right? So it's not going to sound like what ours sounds like out of the box. So I don't have the time, if I took people's money to do this, to support and help everybody. I will try with some people if I can, but so his information, if anybody wants it, I can get them to Keith. He can certainly get you started out if somebody wants to go down this rabbit hole and try doing it. For the books, I'll have them for sale at the event. And I highly encourage you to come to the New Orleans Paracon for more than just my books or even seeing us. This is going to be a remarkably cool event. So I will have them there. Otherwise, easiest way to get the books would be Amazon, and the link to the Amazon page for the books or to our event schedule, testimonials. We have a lot of very personal, meaningful moments people have had connecting with loved ones, supposedly from our digital seance events. All that is on our website, links to it. I have a metaphysical philosophy Substack I started doing now to write, put some stuff out and share it. So it's gonyacparanormal.com, which is GONYAC.
Well played.
Paranormal. Comes from Gonzalez, Yacopetti, Gonyac. She came up with it.
It was an email name. I thought it was cute because it's Gonzalez. I've gone yak. You see, so I thought it was cute.
Right.
Like
But
that.
people have asked, well, why isn't it your name first? Why isn't it Yak Gone? Is it because that sounds like a bug repellent?
You want that.
And nobody wants that.
or what happens after a long night at the pub.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, see, even
I'm
better.
just saying.
Even
What-
better.
And I've enjoyed it. And what I always like to say, especially when I'm